And we're live here on YouTube. I'd like to welcome those listening in podcast land, and also welcome my buddy Rich. Rich, how you doing out there?
I'm doing good, Mike. Kind of feeling refreshed and not as tired as I took. Didn't go in early on Friday and got to sleep till like 7:30 today. So I felt great.
Wow, that's awesome. I was at Walmart with my children by 7:30 this morning. So no, that was not the same.
So that meant that you had at least you were up by 6 o'clock in the morning.
6:15.
6:15. Okay. Well, I think I was up at that point, but it was just long enough to see how you responded to my message about what time we wanted to record today, because I sent it before I went to bed, and then just using the restroom and then going back to bed.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it wasn't too bad of a week. So yeah. So Mike, we talked on our pregame. We'll probably address it later on in the show as well. But you had a long night with a playoff game, right?
We had a long night. It's been a long week. I'm looking forward to hopefully some relaxation for the next couple of weeks. But we'll see. But with that, yeah, and then kids being kids and doing kid things and having fun with that. Been have a wedding tonight, so got to do that shout out at the end of the show. And I have another shout out at the end of the show as well. I have two of them. I got to remember to write those down so I don't forget.
All right, Mike. Well, we got a little bit of a show that we got to show as we got the World Series that started. We had to post a poll question to reveal who our picks were going to be, since we didn't technically know the matchup when we were recording last week. So you'll get our picks on that today, as well as we're going to be going into the NASCAR corner to talk about the NASCAR playoffs. Mike, what else are we going to be talking about?
We got power rankings to talk about, and a bunch of NFL included in those power ranking stuff. Plus, Rich, an amazing esports week. We'll talk more about that. All that and more. But let's go ahead and roll the intro. Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa. This is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich. And we're back. Okay, Rich, with that, before we start any of the other things, we got to get in.
Poll question.
We got a poll question to talk about.
We do, Mike, and this was a tough one, as we put two things together that you usually eat together, but in our poll question, you can only have one of them.
Wow.
Sorry, Karen Lehmans, you do have to pick one. She put both. You couldn't vote for both, but she commented on the poll, so thank you for that.
Well, I didn't
even give that shout out.
Where was that? Is that on your where you shared it? Because it's not on the normal one.
I think it was on the one that I shared. She put both.
Oh,
you can't.
There it is. I see it. Yep.
So bacon or eggs?
Now we do have to remind everybody. I forgot to make sure you did it too. We forgot to put in a pinned comment to it that it can only be like 2 eggs, how you want them. But I don't think that tainted how people voted.
No, I don't.
Man, Rich, 13 people voted on this one. Good job. Good job to you guys. 2 people voted for eggs.
Okay.
Salami and Mark Hendricks. That's it.
Okay.
11.
Yeah, I voted for bacon. You voted for bacon, Mike. Who else joined us?
Apparently, I didn't even vote.
You didn't vote.
12 people voted for bacon.
Okay.
Because apparently I forgot to vote. I thought I voted, but apparently I didn't. Okay. Pam Hendricks, Sue Hart, Alex Cruz, Ashley Shriepeck, Ron Lehmans, Josh Hendricks, AJ Hendricks, Gail Welshman, Craig Johnson, Rich Hendricks, Rob Bounds, and me. Now that I voted, but apparently it might have been too late for me to vote. I don't know. I shared it.
It's never too late. All right, so this week, Mike, we're back to the cereal side, and it's going to be Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries or Fruity Pebbles.
Ooh. You don't like either of those, do you?
No, I do. I like both of them.
Oh, okay.
I like both of these. It's. I know what I'm going to vote for, though. I know what I'm going to vote for. So I'll try and get that poll up after we get off the air. After we get done recording and doing our post-show talk, as we always end up talking a little bit afterwards.
That's always a good time. Anyway.
All right, Mike. Do you see what's coming up next?
Rich, is it a left turn?
It is a left-hand turn, Mike. And what's after that?
It's another left-hand turn. And why is that, Rich?
Well, Mike, because we're going into the NASCAR Corner. The NASCAR Corner is presented by Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated. You can find them on 5th Avenue in Moline, Illinois, and they also have an eBay store, Triple I Sports Cards Incorporated. Mike, we were at the South Point Casino 400 in Las Vegas. Mike, give us the results.
Okay. So this last week, Joey Logano won, and William Byron came in 4th. Kyle Larson came in 11th. Martin Truex Jr. came in 6th, and Alex Bowman came in 5th. The last time in the round of 8 that the first in. Okay, you're gonna have to explain that note. I don't.
Okay, so yeah. So Joey Logano, the last person into the round of 8, as he qualified, he got into the round of 8 based on Alex Bowman being disqualified.
Yep.
First one into the final 4, winning the race in Vegas.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Right. Now that you
said it that way.
Said it that way. It makes sense.
Okay, so the playoffs, Mike, I'm up 9-6. Overall, it is 23-22 in favor of me. So Tony, your brother Tony was at the race. Him and Heather were at the race. I think, have they been to every Vegas race since moving out there?
I think so. I mean, in the same way that if I lived in Newton, I'd probably go to every race that was there.
Yeah, I might have to talk. I might have to talk with you offline about
next year.
Yeah, about next year. I think so. Hopefully, I'll have to see where you're at.
Well, there's a couple big things happening next year that we have talked about doing. So we'll have to make our decisions on some of them because there's lots of decisions to go with that.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
I'm not trying to be too vague about it, but it's one of those things that we've talked about going to a couple different events, and I would like to make sure that if we're going, like, we strategically pick which events we decide to go to. How about I put it that way?
Gotcha. All right, Mike. So this week they are in Homestead, Miami, for the Straight Talk Wireless 400.
Yeah. So, Rich, Homestead, it's not like any other track. Not like any other track at all. It is completely different. It's the corners are really wide, fairly flat, but still a great place to watch a race. So, the question now becomes, you have honors as it goes to
the playoff driver. You have the honors for the non-playoff.
Right.
So, for a playoff driver, Mike, I'm going to go with Tyler Reddick. Guy's got a good track history there. And let's look at the playoff standings. I think he's below the cut line right now. So, he needs a good showing there.
Yeah.
He is below the cut line, so he needs a good finish or a good points day in Miami. So I'm going to go Tyler Reddick.
Okay, I like that pick. I think that's probably a solid pick there. I am. I'm gonna have to take Denny Hamlin. He's really good at Homestead. Done it a bunch. Needs a win. He's the first in the cut line, under the cut line right now, if I remember correctly.
He is.
So
we'll go through the cut line and the playoff drivers once we get done making our picks.
So yeah, I would say let's go Denny.
All right, Mike, a non-playoff driver. Who are you thinking? Who are you going to go with?
I like Martin Truex Jr. in this race.
So do I. If it wasn't for the fact that you got him and that I picked him last week, I probably would have leaned in toward Martin Truex Jr. So he'll be in my fantasy lineup. But I'm going to go with another guy that probably wants to get a win to maintain a win, at least a win streak for a season, for an entire season. I'm going to go Kyle Busch.
Okay, I like that pick. I think he needs it. He hasn't gotten a win in this year.
He won a race last year. Yeah, but he's looking for a win to keep a streak alive for this year. So he's down to 3 more opportunities. So I think Miami's going to be the place that he gets it.
Yeah.
All right, speaking of the playoff standings, Joey Logano is locked into the Final Four. Above the cut line, pending the results of Miami, are Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, and William Byron. Below the cut line right now is Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, and Chase Elliott.
Yeah. So, anybody that you expect... Like, do you think there's anybody that's not going to make the Final Four, like, almost guaranteed?
I could really see anybody making the Final Four.
And I
really
agree with you in that, and this is something I think I said last week, but the best 8 drivers this season are the ones that made the top 8. Like, genuinely, what we have seen is that the best drivers of the season are the ones in the top 8. And so, to me, that's a huge deal. Like, that's what you want in NASCAR. So, yeah, I feel fairly confident with it.
Yeah, for me, Mike, I think the one guy that kind of jumps out there just because he's been inconsistent this year has probably been Chase Elliott.
Yeah.
For me, so I think one guy that I don't think will make it. So I don't think he'll make it because I don't. So I think he's going to need to win. I don't think he'll be able to get in on points with where he's at. So he's going to need a win either here in Miami or down in Martinsville.
Yeah.
Or up in Martinsville since we're down in Miami. So.
Yeah.
If he's going to move on.
Okay. With that, Rich, let's. Do you want to keep making left turns, or do you want to go to the grid line?
We can keep making left-hand turns.
Okay,
I don't think we're going to be on the baseball very much.
Let's move to the diamond and talk about the World Series. So the Yankees finished off the Guardians 4-1, and the Dodgers pulled off beat the Mets 4-3. Which gave us Yankees-Dodgers for the World Series. Last night's game ended in dramatic fashion as they went into the 10th inning and got the bases loaded, only to have was it Freddie Freeman?
It was. Freddie Freeman hit a walk-off grand slam.
By the way, Freddie Freeman, a guy who this year has been consistently inconsistent, if you understand my meaning. Like,
yeah,
he has not been the guy that he has been in years past. He's been injury prone this year. He's had tons of problems, and yet he came in clutch when it had to happen.
Yeah, the guy is playing on an ankle that's requiring a ton of treatment. And if it had happened later in the regular season, he probably would have shut it down instead of almost playing every other day while getting treatment on this. So, and he lugged out a triple. I didn't see that. It did happen before I tuned in the game, but the guy lugged out a triple on a bum ankle too, not just hitting a no-doubter game-winning grand slam, and I was surprised when they put the graphic up on the screen after it happened, that was the first time there had ever been a walk-off grand slam in World Series history.
By the way, that is crazy to me in that and I don't care who you are, every little boy who has dreamt about baseball, you have the exact same situation in opposite setups. So either you are the pitcher that they bring in at the bottom of the ninth or the bottom of whatever inning it is. You always say the bottom of the ninth because that's when baseball ends. And you're the pitcher that has to finish out the greatest hitter of all time, and the bases are loaded, and you have all this pressure, and you that's one fantasy you have. Mm-hmm. But you also have the complete opposite / exact same fantasy of you are the hitter with the bases loaded, bottom of the ninth, your team's down 3, and you come up with the grand slam to walk off. Those are the two, like, when you're a little kid and you're like playing shadow ball, those are the two situations you always have, right?
Yeah, or even just like the whole like one-on-one where it's you and somebody else just playing like wiffle ball or baseball.
Yeah. The problem with that is the crazy thing to me, like you just said, that's never happened.
Never happened. There were plenty of walk-off home runs. I mean, in a sense, you could have had walk-off grand slams. Just how many times is it like a ball hit into the gap or over the drawn-in infield, but the winning run gets in, and then everybody celebrates because the everybody else stops running the bases. So I guess in a sense, you could have had walk-off grand slams because if they hit a ball over the drawn-in infield, technically everybody could keep running, but most of the time they stop and they celebrate. They get the guy from third comes in for the winning run, and then everyone celebrates instead of everybody else continuing to run the bases since there's no play going on.
Yeah. It's crazy to me that that's kind of how it goes.
But I guess, I mean, I was watching something came across on my Facebook feed about the fan interference call.
Yeah.
The Yankees hit a home run could have been a home run in the top of the game, but a Dodger fan reached below the fence to snag it up, and they ruled it a ground rule double due to fan interference because it could have gone off the wall. Based on how the fielder played that could have been a triple based on how they played it off the wall.
I got a question for you on that one.
Sure. Or maybe it's a home run because maybe it doesn't, because where the fan caught it, it would have been off the top of the wall, but
right.
Maybe without the fan interference, it is a home run.
In a game like that, like, for me it's hard because technically, in theory, that probably would have benefited overall, it could have benefited the home team a little bit more. But if it's the away team, let's say the away team's the one that has fan interference that then, helps that team out more. Does that become like...
I hadn't thought about it that way, because that could have just as easily been the left fielder jumping up and making an amazing catch and he would have been turned up. He robbed a homer.
Right.
But it was the fan that caught the ball. And it was a ground rule double instead of maybe an out or maybe a triple or maybe a single, depending on how the ball caroms off the field, off the outfield wall.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, like, most of the time, and again, with Bartman, with these fan interference calls are done in ways that, like that one hurt that one hurt the Cubs, the home team. If Bartman would have was in Miami and it happened, is he the legend that he is today. Like, think about that. If they would have been in because it was Miami, right? I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It was
So
Miami.
if they would have been in Miami for that game, and a Miami fan catches it, do Cubs fans hate him as much?
I don't think so, because it's not like a Cub fan robbing a fan. But the difference between that call and what happened in last night's game is that the fielder was trying to make a play to a ball that was out of play, technically.
Yeah.
He may have had whether he had a legitimate play on it or not, he was still going for a foul, what would have been a foul ball. If he hadn't chased after it and said, that's foul, that's going foul, I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah. No, and
it's going to be a foul ball regardless.
I understand that. It's one of those things where it's like, that's one of those hard calls to make in general, but I like it. I'm glad that they have started clearing that up a bit more than what it was. Because when we were going to games all the time, that wasn't as uncommon of a thing, and it wasn't called generally back then. So, okay.
All right. So speaking of the World Series, Mike, this is the matchup that you picked at the beginning of the postseason, since neither of our World Series matchups could happen.
Yeah.
That we predicted at the beginning of the season. So you took the Dodgers, giving me the Yankees, and I don't mind having the Yankees in this pick. I almost don't want to see either team win, but at least with the Yankees, I can root for Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah, and that's a good point. You get to root for the Riz, but the Dodgers lineup is way too good to not pick that lineup. I'm sorry, they spent way too much money, and they are way too. They have done way too much to not deserve something. At least I would say.
Okay, and I don't mind that. So it's I think it's going to be a good matchup. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching the games. I'm hoping to watch more of the games. So because while I slept through a good chunk of last night's game, the ending made up for it. I was up for the ending.
So, okay, with that, Rich, let's head off the diamond and head to the gridiron, as that took longer than I think either of us planned on it taking, but I'm okay with it. Rich, week 7, the Bears were on bye, so they didn't lose and they didn't win.
Nope.
So how about you give us the locks of the week?
Locks of the week, Mike. The I picked the Commanders over the Panthers. The Commanders won convincingly, 40-7, giving me 2 wins in a row for locks of the week.
Yeah, you're on a roll.
Mike, you picked the Bills. Yeah, still need one more for it to be a winning streak. That's just back to back at this point.
Yeah.
Mike, you picked the Bills over the Titans, and the Bills won 34-10, improving you to 7-0. Mike, how'd the upsets do?
Upset specials, Rich. You picked the Jets over the Steelers. The Steelers pulled it off, dropping you to 2-5 on the season. I'm doing worse, Rich. If you could imagine that, I picked the Patriots over the Jags. The Jags pulled it off in very similar convincing manner, a 33-16 victory for the Jags, dropping me down to 1-6. I've only picked one upset on the year, which I don't mind all that much. Rich, we both picked the Vikings to win the Thursday night game, and they came up short, dropping a second game in a row within 5 days, losing to the Rams 30-20.
Yeah.
Rich,
So
you
Mike
are now 4-5, and I am 6-3 on the season.
So was this a product of the Rams finally having Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua healthy, or are the Rams starting to turn into a team they are who we thought they were, of a team that was overachieving and is finally coming back down to earth?
I think them being healthy helps. And they don't even have everyone healthy. And Cup was questionable midday yesterday or Thursday. He was still on the questionable list. He didn't get upgraded to in until I want to say like an hour before game time. And with that, everybody thought Pakua was going to be the guy to watch for the game, and Cup comes out just blazed the Vikings this week. So I think a lot of it has to do with getting everyone healthy. If you look at it, I mean, Rich, who did they have while both those guys were down? Yep.
No-name guys.
Yep.
No-name guys.
You couldn't name
Catching
them
balls. Catching the football.
So
I could name them, but yeah.
So it's one of those things that with no-name guys, you're looking at it and you're like, well, this isn't going to happen. And you can play a zone and cover these guys and not really worry about it. Whereas now that you have two great receivers, you can't double team both of them. So now you're seeing more guys open. I think there's still some come down to earth to happen, but I think that them being a healthy team they're gonna be dangerous. So
Okay. All right, Mike. So we'll talk more in power rankings. I think definitely this loss for me is going to move the Vikings down to the power rankings going into next week, but I did not factor in this week's game into my power.
I agree. That's what we do. So in week 8, Rich, the Bears play the Commanders. This is a huge game. This is a huge game.
I would agree with that. This is almost what you could say winnable game, I think. Winnable game for them before they get into divisional play and the competition gets tougher. Or at least matchups that we thought would be tougher at the beginning of the year.
I actually disagree. We have three games. The next 3 games, this is the tough one of the next 3. Then it gets really tough.
Yeah, I'll agree. Okay, yeah, we do have the Patriots in week number 10.
Well, and even the Cardinals.
The Cardinals and the Patriots.
Cardinals and the Patriots those two should be winnable games, fairly winnable, and I would say quite winnable in both of those instances.
Then you finally got to start playing divisional games.
The 17th is where I have no clue from the 17th on what we're going to look like. Now, if the Bears win this week, I actually think they win next week anyway, and the following week I expect that to be a win. So if we win these 3 games, we're going into the toughest schedule for the last half of the season. And I don't think there's even an argument about it. Right now, we are going against and we'll get a lot more in depth.
Yeah.
But we have the Packers, Vikings, and Lions all twice in a matter of 7 games, 8 games.
And you technically have a division-leading Seahawks in Week 17.
And you have the 49ers who they should be a better team. Those 2 games are going to be really tough games. I am very,
You're either going to be really excited because they're catching hot and they're winning games that are making big differences in the standings, or you're gonna really come in and inspect or it could be a week where we're talking about maybe lowering our expectations and saying, you know what, this is still a team that has some obvious improvements that need to be done, but they're still a young team, so there's still time for them to make those improvements to set the team up well for next year.
Well, I mean, Rich, if we win these next 3 games, if we just win these next 3 games, we're at 8 wins, right? If I'm doing my math right, because we're 5-2 right now.
Yes, they are 5-2 right now.
So if we win the next 3, we're at 8 wins, and I think that's entirely possible. And then we could still end the season under 500 because of how terribly hard the rest of the schedule is after that.
I'm sorry, they are 4-2.
Oh,
so if they win the next 3 games, they could be 7-2.
They could be 7-2, and they can still. And again, I don't expect them to lose all of the last ones. I think they'll split most of the divisional games. So we'll end up, I think, being 10-7, 10 maybe 11-6. But still, bro, that's going to be a tough season. This second half of the season is going to be rough. So, Commanders, going to be the toughest game of the next 3. But you informed me of something at the beginning of the show, or right before the show started, which makes this a little easier to make.
Yeah, they may not have Jaden Daniels, so you could have Marcus Mariota under center. There's a reason why this guy is a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
That offense is not the same without Jaden Daniels under center, just like the Bears' offense wouldn't be the same without Caleb Williams.
And I think that makes enough of a difference that I was picking the Bears because I think that they should win this game, but with Daniels out, I feel very confident that they should and will win this game.
All right, cool. Mike, it's an even number. It's an even week, so you have the honors for lock of the week.
I am going to pick Broncos over the Panthers, mostly because I want to give a shout out to a team that we don't normally feature on this on a lock of the week.
All right, and they have been playing well of late, and they're playing a really bad Panthers team. So I don't mind you picking whoever the Panthers are playing as a lock of the week to keep your streak going. Hey. So, Mike, I'm also going to feature a team that's probably both in our bottom 5 in the power rankings, and I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions over those Tennessee Titans.
Yep. And then we go to upset special of the week. I am going to pick the Falcons over the Bucks. It's a divisional game. That's one of the reasons why you pick it, because divisional games, you never know what's going to happen. So I'm going to pick that.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, the Bucks are also struggling with injuries as they have their top 2 wide receivers out.
Yep.
Out for this game. Chris Godwin being out for the season. Mike Evans being out for a couple more weeks. Yep. I think the Bucks are still going to come out and throw the ball, but some backups and a rookie wide receiver are really going to need to step up if Baker is still going to throw the ball like a madman, like he has been doing. I really didn't see a lot of upsets on the docket this week, so I'm going to take one that's very close to a 50-50 split, and I'm going to go the Dolphins over the Cardinals. With Tua coming back against our better judgment, or against what we think, the Dolphins are going to want to make a statement. He's going to want to prove that I can still play at this level. So I think the Dolphins offense comes alive with their reluctant and against our better words, the leader and core of their offense coming back.
You opened the can of worms, Rich.
I'm sorry, Mike.
You did it. Really am. I gotta talk about it real quick. It wasn't actually. It's not in our outline. Other than the fact that you picked this game, Tua Tagovailoa is coming back this week. I have said on the show he needs to not play for the rest of his life. He needs to retire. He needs to walk away, and medically he should not like. And because I believe medically he should. That does then fall into he should get his salary. Blah blah blah. It's Miami's fault for signing him to such a contract. But. And we've talked about that we think there should be exceptions for injury and medical things on how the salary cap works. But more importantly, Tua's coming back. I think he's going to be. I think he's going to get another concussion sooner rather than later. It's going to be bad. We're going to have this discussion again. Nobody's going to listen. Nobody's going to care. And that's a terrible thing. I have never said that Tua Tagovailoa is not a good enough quarterback to play in the NFL.
Nope, you haven't.
In fact, I think he genuinely is a quarterback that is a game changer for whatever team he is on.
Especially for this Dolphins team, which is designed an offense to fit his skill set.
I think this young man is a generational talent when it comes to quarterback. The problem is he cannot take a hit. He puts himself into position. By the way, this last concussion, 100% a Tua Tagovailoa fault. He led with his helmet into the chest plate of a guy who died on the field, and cranked his neck in a way, or cranked his head and neck in a way that gave him a concussion. Tua did that. But he took judo to make sure he could take hits and falls better. Didn't work.
Yeah, for me, it's the news conference of him saying, "Are you going to wear a Guardian cap, Tua?" Nope. Why? Personal decision.
So
here's not even talking about the new technology of I wear this style of helmet from this company, which has been proven to be better than wearing that helmet and a Guardian cap. But
Yep.
you'd think at this point, with the number of concussions he's had and the amount of bad publicity that the league takes with concussions, that they wouldn't say, all right, you suffered a concussion this week. In addition to having to pass the protocol, regardless of what helmet you wear, you have to wear a Guardian cap for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
If you're going to, regardless. And at the end of the year, if you don't think it's made it, then it can go back to being your decision on whether you want to wear one in games.
The problem is Tua is now in a fight against the idea that he's soft and that he's weak.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody thinks that you're soft. Nobody thinks you're weak. We just understand that your brain and your physique, I don't want to even say physique because that sounds like it's something he could do something about, but your genetics are such that you're not designed to take these hits. It has nothing to do with whether you're tough. I think you're a tough son of a gun. I think if the NFL, by the way, I'm gonna say this, and I think it proves my point on why the NFL needs to step in and say no, and B, proves how tough Tua is. I think if the week after you had that concussion, that if left to your own devices, you would have been back on the field that week. Tua, nobody thinks you're soft. We don't want to see you die on the field. By the way, if you I'm not gonna say. Do you remember? I think it was Not Another Teen Movie.
Yes, it was Not Another Teen Movie with the
concussion
characterization of Billy Bob, the offensive lineman Billy Bob, them having a concussion countdown thing within the games of the movie. I'm glad you brought that up.
If
one more concussion, Billy Bob, and you could die. You could be done playing football. Well, I'm gonna play. That's what almost Tua's turning into. Almost
100% what Tua's. And the problem is, according to the data, one concussion is too much. But we let it go. And I understand, there's some personal choice in it. But at some point, you have to... Rich, you were in the military?
Mm-hmm.
Were there times where, even against what you thought, the military said, you're not allowed to walk in this minefield. It may look pretty, it may be nice, but you're not allowed to walk in a. I don't think you had minefields, but
No, we did not mind.
We'll use North Korea. You're not allowed to walk in the DMZ. If you go to Korea right now, one of the most beautiful locations in the world, that the habitat has gone mostly back to the wilderness because people are not allowed to walk through it, is the DMZ. Did you know that?
I did not.
But Rich, neither North Korea nor South Korea nor any other government entity will allow you to walk through there. You know why? Because there are so many landmines there that you will die. And this is what Tua is doing right now. He's walking through a landfield or a minefield that we know he's going to have this happen again. This is ridiculous.
And his only response to it is, "You just got to play smarter. I just got to play smarter."
I can't.
I don't think he's playing smarter.
No.
By wanting to continue going out there. At what point is the league gonna have to step in and say, "We think you're done. We'll negotiate that. We'll make sure that the Dolphins take care of you and honor that contract, but you can't play anymore." I don't think it's gonna happen. So, Mike, moving on. Thursday night football. The Texans will head out to the Meadowlands in Jersey to take on the Jets. Who are you taking, Mike?
I think I gotta take the Texans. I think they're the better team.
All right, I can agree with that. The Texans probably are the better team, but I'm going to go with the Jets because they need a win. If anything, they got another week for Adams to get integrated into that offense with Aaron Rodgers, so I'll go with the Jets. All right, Mike, power rankings, top 10, bottom 5. And I don't think we need to go into where we have the Bears ranked, because I think we both have them in the top 10 now.
Yeah.
So, Mike, number 1, I got the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I do. And I don't think there is anything. Nobody has proven that they are better than the Chiefs right now. So, yeah. Number 2, Rich, I have the Detroit Lions. In fact, I think with the win this week, I think this puts them as the team to beat in the NFC.
I can agree with that. I also have the Detroit Lions. I put the Detroit Lions as well. Number 3, Mike, for now, I have the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, you and I are on the same page on this one, and I think we are in lockstep on this exact one, as if I would have based the rankings after Thursday night's game, they drop. And I don't care how any of the other teams on this list do. They drop.
Yeah, I think I would have had them still in the top 10 based on their early season wins.
I think I'd probably have them in the top 5 even. But I think they're 4 or 5, they're not 3.
Okay. So we'll see where we have the Vikings next week. It's definitely not going to be 3 for either of us.
Yeah, no.
Number 4, Mike, I have the Baltimore Ravens.
Nope, I have the Buffalo Bills.
Okay, that's fair. They have the same record.
Yep.
They have the same record, so I'm not going to argue with it.
And
Number
at some
5
point,
by the
way, at some point, I'm predicting that you will have the Bills higher than the Ravens. And here,
yes, because eventually those teams do have to play each other this year.
Well, not just
that could be a tiebreaker.
Not just that, but the Bills are in a well, no. Okay, maybe they won't be. We'll see. Anyway, number 5, I actually have the Houston Texans here.
Okay, I had the Texans a little bit lower.
Okay, at number 6, I have the Baltimore Ravens.
I put the Pittsburgh Steelers here. I hate to put them this high because I don't like the team, but you got to respect the record. Yep. So Pittsburgh is outperforming how we probably both thought that they would do this year. So I rewarded that and put them in at number 6.
I can see that, but I have them significantly lower than that. At number 7, Rich, I have the football team from Washington, whatever they're called these days. I can't call them what I'm used to calling them. They're no longer the Washington football team, and I'm never going to remember Commanders?
Yeah, it's the Commanders. So I put the Green Bay Packers at number 7.
Okay. Yeah, no. Nope.
They beat the Texans, though. And
They
you have the
did.
Texans at number 5.
I did. You're right. You're right. I think that's
beat 'em.
decent. I think that's a decent argument. But at number 8, Rich, who do you got?
This is where I put the Houston Texans.
Okay, you're following the where who you beat, you have to be better than, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I had the number 8's where I have the Chicago Bears.
Okay. I have the Bears at number 9.
Okay. Well,
I moved them up. I did move them up.
guess what? I moved up the Green Bay Packers to number 9.
Okay.
And at number 10, rounding out your top 10, Rich.
The Washington Commanders.
Okay.
So, yes, they have a better record than the Bears, but I think, and I had these two flipped as 9 and 10, but when I finalized the power rankings, I put the Bears above them because of, I think I'm anticipating what's going to happen this week, and it's that the Bears are going to beat them, and they're going to be there. So I'm anticipating,
Okay.
and I think the Bears have been playing better.
I actually think
Better than the Commanders.
I actually did the opposite and tried to not think about what I think is going to happen this week. So, and at number 10, I actually have the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay. I got
So-
the Eagles a little bit lower. I put the Eagles at number 13. So,
Well, if you're going to give that one, I actually put the Steelers at number 11.
okay.
So, dropped them down there.
All right.
Okay, now Rich, we've actually talked about all of the NFC North. How about that?
We have.
All of the NFC North in the top 10, and I think that's a very accurate statement right now. I think tomorrow could change everything for that, and in fact, I think this week has already changed some massive stuff for one of those teams, and we'll see how this next week goes for the rest of them. Rich, let's head to the bottom 5. Let's start on the bottom. I have the Carolina Panthers.
I put the
32.
Cleveland Browns here.
Yeah, and I think you're probably in a good spot, but and so
Have you ever thought that a team could actually improve when their starting quarterback gets knocked out of a game?
so yes, and I mean, yeah, that's crazy, but even worse, we all love to hate the fact we all love to hate the Cleveland Browns because of their choice to sign Deshaun Watson. But one thing we forget is that isn't Jameis Winston also been accused of rape multiple times?
No, he was his big storyline coming out of college was him stealing crab legs.
Oh, I thought he had something else.
No, he hasn't. But, it's crazy to think how well this Browns team plays when Deshaun Watson isn't the one underneath center. So I have them ranked here right now, but I think if they play like I think they will, because it's almost like they cater their entire offense to try to play to Watson's strengths. It doesn't work, but they keep having to roll out that type of offense. They get a backup in there, and they go back to what the coach wants to run, and the team does great and outperforms.
Actually, Rich, I was correct. Jameis Winston was publicly accused of sexual assault in 2 separate incidences years before the Saints first signed him. So, he has multiple times been accused of sexual assault. Yeah.
All right, Mike. 31 is where I have the Carolina Panthers.
Okay, 31, Rich, is where I have the New England Patriots.
Okay.
They look to be hot garbage to me. At 30
They do, but I think they're playing better. They're playing a little bit better.
They lost to the Jags.
I know. I know.
A
I don't
bottom
have them that far
8
off.
team. By the way, I have the Cleveland Browns at 30.
All right. This is where I put the Tennessee Titans.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good spot for them. But I have them a little higher than that, as I still have the Miami Dolphins at 29. I'm sorry,
right.
Tua does not count as a starting quarterback. They have no starting quarterback.
All right. 29 is where I put the New England Patriots. They've been playing better
Yeah.
with Drake May under center, but they're still not winning football games. So that's why I
I
got to put them there.
legitimately was just going to say, they're playing better. Does that mean they're winning?
No.
Okay.
But I think with the way they've been playing, they've at least been playing better than the Titans and the Panthers, which
Okay.
is why I have
That's
them
fair.
ranked higher than those teams.
And then,
And
go ahead.
rounding out my top 5 at number 28 is where I put the New York Football Giants.
Man, I think the bottom, and I think from the Giants, which is, I have the Giants all the way up at 25. The Rams, again, I base this on pre-Thursday night. But to get to 28, let me go. I'm going to give you the Tennessee Titans is who I have at 28. But the Giants at 25, the Rams at 26, and the Jags at 27.
Okay. I kind of put I have the Rams at 22. I might have factored in that Vikings game in my decision, but at the same time, the teams that are below them have at least, the 49ers are ranked a little bit higher, but I have the Jets at 23. They've only beaten the Titans and the Patriots, 2 bottom 5 teams. The Saints, the Panthers, and the Cowboys. The Raiders at least got a victory over a top 5 team in the Ravens.
Yeah.
So that's why I factored it in. So
Okay.
I didn't quite go with the Rams. I'm sure the Rams will be a little bit higher on your rankings next week.
As they will.
And I'm sure regardless of how well the Dolphins do against the Cardinals, they're probably going to remain in your bottom 5, regardless of how well they do with to round out the season.
I will not say they can't. They can improve if they. Again, I expect with Tua they're gonna play great, but as of last week, Tua was still questionable to make this week, and B,
at any time he could get knocked out, and they're right back in the situation they were when he was on the IR.
I think he will continue to. I think him coming back improves the team immensely, but that's not what this power ranking is about. This power ranking is about getting them up to where are they up to Wednesday. As of Wednesday is when I do my cutoff, and as of Wednesday, could you say that the Miami Dolphins are above a bottom 5 team as of Wednesday, before you knew Tua was coming back?
Before knowing Tua was coming back, I had him at 26.
Okay. I don't think that, again, and I don't think you're 100% wrong in that. I really don't. But it's a terrible team centered around one guy who can't stay healthy. So, with that, Rich, spoiler alert, we are going to talk about the Masked Singer. We're going to give spoilers about it. If you don't want to know those spoilers, thanks for joining us. We love you. We'll see you next week. But before you go, make sure you check us out on YouTube and on Facebook.com/ballsandsticks or YouTube.com/ballsandsticks. Rich, if these people want to listen to us while they sit in a 5-hour car ride and they want to binge listen to like 3 episodes or 5 episodes, more like 5 episodes, in the car, where should they catch that at?
Look us up wherever you find all of your other podcasts. Google, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, just to name a few. Mike, if they're listening to us out in podcast land, you already mentioned it, but you can also find us on YouTube, and we always link our Facebook. We always link a link to our YouTube feed over on the Facebook side. Mike, tell them where they can find our poll questions every week.
Facebook.com/fans of Balls and Sticks, Facebook.com/Balls and Sticks, or Rich and Mai's personal page. With that, Rich, before you leave, please stick around so I can tell you how our esports team did. We had a really awesome in-person event. We did it in we have a little gym. We did it in the little gym. We set it up. We had bleachers. We had people sitting in the bleachers. We we set it up perfectly. It was awesome. I loved it. We had a big projector. We had a screen. It looked great. I am in love. Like, it was awesome. I wholeheartedly hope that we can do this in the near future and beyond, to allow us to do more of these in this way. I'll try to get some pictures up. We also beat Sheldon. They were an undefeated team. They were ranked number 2 in the state in our division. We've beat them. Now we are ranked number 2. We have the same record, so we did better than them, and we beat them in straights instead of blah blah blah. Anyway, so that should help us. Esterville won as well. So this last week, if we win this game, which we should win this match, we are as good, if not better, than this team that we're playing. If we win this match, we go on to we should get a direct to state. So yeah, with that, let's get into the Masked Singer. This week, the Masked Singer was
it was
Group
Barbie
B
night
and Barbie night, which
based off of how the performances were, no one performance really impressed me. There was a lot of mediocre performances. I wouldn't have been upset with anybody going home on that on this particular night, where it was really hard for me to say this person was my favorite performance of the night. I don't think I had a favorite performance of the night from this episode.
Yeah, and in all honesty, I did not think this one was that bad. Like, I didn't. I thought that I agree 100%. I didn't think anybody deserved. I think based on the night, nobody glaringly needed to go home. But I also,
but at the same time, there wasn't any clear-cut person of there's no way that they can eliminate this person.
Yeah. So that was tough. I think the closest to that, though, was Goo. I think Goo is still the best of these performers so far. So outside of that, Chess Piece is the one that ended up going home. That was Laverne Cox, famed from
Orange is the New Black.
Okay, that's right. So when I saw who it was, my wife was falling asleep very quickly. We were done, so we turned it off right away. I didn't listen to the after stuff, and so I didn't get to hear all the stuff. I didn't realize that that's where she was from. They were from. I don't know what they use their pronouns as. It's a transgender.
She
person.
identifies one. They identify one way, but technically
they were born another way.
It's not
fine.
worth getting into.
It's whatever. But so it identifies as a she. Let me see. I think it's on. I'm checking. Sorry. Okay. So they do have that. She identifies as a lady. Sure. I did not know that. So apparently, M. Lamar, a musician, is twin brothers with Laverne Cox.
Okay, I mean, I guess our train of thought of it being, it's RuPaul.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of right on as it being somebody that is transgender or somebody that's went through the transition process.
So okay, yeah,
we didn't keep it on much after they unveiled her because of the post masking interview was. The direction they chose to take it on.
And that's fine. That's people's choice. It's whatever. But
all right, so next week, I don't remember what they said the theme of the night was going to be, but there's going to be a double elimination unless they decide to ring the ding dong keep it on bell. And you can catch the Masked Singer on Wednesday night live on Wednesday nights at 7:00, or you can record it like Mike and I do and watch it whenever.
Yeah, I think it is 60s night, if I remember correctly.
60s night. Okay. But I can agree with your assessment that you think
65.
Goo is the best of the bunch, though.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay. With that, Rich, let's get into shout-outs, as we both have a couple to do. So go ahead.
We do. Happy retirement to my mom, 35 years at the Hy-Vee, at the Moline Hy-Vee. Not just Hy-Vee in general, the Moline Hy-Vee. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Good for her.
she's finally done. She's walking away, retiring. And so I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday was her last day at the store. So yeah, congratulations on that. A
That's
long
awesome.
time coming.
Yeah.
And it's going to be my dad's birthday on Halloween this week. So we'll give him a double shout out before the week and after the week.
Yeah, I failed my mom to give her a double shout out, as her birthday was yesterday. So happy birthday, Mom. I called her, so she got that already. And then Bobby and Lane are getting married tonight. So congratulations, Bobby and Lane. With that, Rich, what's it time to do?
Mike, go ahead and roll that outro.
Broadcasting live from somewhere in Iowa, this is Balls and Sticks, the podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Rich.